Hi there, my name is Chris and welcome to Therapeutic Industries. Let me give you a quick overview of this piece of equipment. First of all, it's not just one piece of equipment, it's three. We have a high and low treatment platform. We have standing frame. We have a few accessories that come with the standing frame, like the chest plate for low-level patients or low trunk control. We have a knee board to do sit to stand. We have a standing pole as well, and we have a nice cart that goes with it. The third piece of equipment that this is the parallel bars. And this is them right here. Okay. They also come in a cart, they come with a safety seat, and we'll talk about them whenever we go into the parallel bar segment. Okay, so let's talk about the treatment platform first. We have digital readouts. That's them here. We have a table, a seat, a back, and a leg. The table is in inches. Right now it's at 18.5. That's the top of the table. It goes all the way up to 34.5 inches, which is higher than a gurney. So you can transfer patients down onto a gurney. As you move the table up and down, the digitals will move accordingly. The next one is the seat. The seat is in degrees. Whenever you go up with the seat, degrees will match the seat. Okay? We also have a backrest. As you bring the back up, the degrees will go up. They'll go down whenever you bring the back down. This will also replace the goniometer because these degrees are extremely accurate. The last one is the leg plate. As it goes up, degrees will go down, and it goes from 90 degrees to 0, flat. Let's talk about a few other accessories that the table has. These are transfer bars. They slide out. There's two of them here. And we'll talk about them in detail whenever we go to the segments for the transfer bars. We also have a scale. And we'll talk about in detail what the scale is for and when it's used when we go to the scale segment. That's the quick overview of the Barihab treatment and assessment platform. If you're interested in learning more about the Barihab, go to our segments where we'll show you in detail how to use all of the features. Okay, so this is the transfer segment. Three most common ways of transferring the patient over is Hoyer lift, sliding board, or wheelchair. The table doesn't have any obstructions underneath for the wheels of the Hoyer lift, so that makes it nice and easy. And also we have a backrest on it, so whenever you lower the patient on it, nothing or nobody has to be in the back holding that patient. Okay. Now the other one is the sliding board. Here we have Corey. He is a above the knee amputee, and what we would do is get him close to the grab bar here. Like his wheelchairs, we would set up the sliding board here. He would be able to grab onto the bar and slide over to the mat. Now, the mat can go down as low as 18.5 inches. It's one of the lowest mat outs there, so that makes it really easy. What we're gonna do with Corey though now, we're gonna do a stand pivot. Kind of set him up the same way, but in this angle, you got the grab bar. Make sure you lock it in place so it's nice and secure. We're gonna have Corey go ahead and reach up and stand up. We'll remove the wheelchair. You can go ahead and pivot and sit down. And that's the wheelchair transfer. Okay, welcome to our sit to stand segment. Here we have our patient Judy. We use the wheelchair transfer over using the one transfer bar. Let me talk about a couple of things that the table has. First of all, we have a headrest, which comes out the back and has a locking mechanism. We also have seat belts, which just come out, one on each side. They buckle in case you need to hold your patient there. One thing, you don't want to stand them up when they're seat belted in. Very important. The other thing that I want to show you is the catheter bag hook. There's hooks on either side of the table for catheter hooks. It just clips on. Once you know where they're at, it's pretty easy. When you're doing a sit to stand, and the patient is actually going to be standing themselves, you're just going to help them. You got to make sure that their feet are flat on the floor. We also want to remove the leg plate. What I mean by that is I'm going to just pull it back under the table. That way the patient can get his or her feet underneath them, you know, the nose over toes. So once we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and pull out the other transfer bar so that I can use the knee blocker. Knee blocker, you just pick it up from the center, you slide it in one end and then the other, and drop it in place. You can attach the Velcros. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide the knee blocker closer to the patient's knees. I'm going to allow 3 to 4 inches from the knees. This way we're going to give them room when they're doing their sit to stand. Once you have them in place, you need to lock both of them. There's also numbers on top of the transfer bars. And those numbers help you to look straight down from the edge of the table onto the number so that you can have them in the same number. Now, this patient is not a low-level patient, which is why we're using the knee blocker. But we're working on sit to stand. She just needs a little bit of help standing up. Go ahead and put your hands there. And what I usually like to do is tell the patient to go ahead and try and stand up. At the same time that I'm doing that, I'm going to press the seat up so that I'm going to start helping them right away. Go ahead and try to stand up. Okay. So you can see she's trying to, but she's a little weak. Now she keeps trying. Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay, so there she stood. Now if you notice, I wasn't pulling on the gait belt. I wasn't even touching her. Just the hand control with my thumb on the seat button. As soon as the patient pulls away from the seat, I'll stop the seat, and that'll tell me the degrees on the seat, and that's telling me how many degrees of assistance she needed to do a sit to stand. In this case, it was 33 degrees. Once she's standing there, I'm going to go ahead and have her sit back down, reach back with both hands, and then go ahead and sit down. Okay. I'm going to lower the seat a little bit. So I'm going to lower it 3 degrees. So now we're down to 30 degrees. And I'm going to have her go ahead and stand up again from there. Go ahead. Keep your hands down here, and I want you to push. Once you stand up, put your hands here. Okay, so she did it from 30 degrees. So we just have a 3-degree improvement. And I'm going to go ahead another 3 degrees down. Go ahead and have a seat. Reach back. Always reach back. I'm going to have her stand up again from there. Go ahead and stand up. So she's standing now from 26 degrees. Usually a patient will improve 10 degrees in one session. Go ahead and reach back and sit down. So that's the way you use the digital readouts in the Barihab. We're going to sit the patient all the way back down. Okay. And that would be the sit to stand segment. Welcome to our standing balance segment. What we're going to do in this segment is show you how you can do standing balance with the Barihab without standby. Here we have our patient Judy. We've already transferred her over to the table with the wheelchair. So what you're going to do next is pull out the other transfer bar. Then we're going to use the knee board. Like so. Once you have that in place, I'm going to go ahead and move the knee board closer to the patient's knees, giving them about 40 inches or so. Once I have the transfer bars locked in place, I'm going to go ahead and help the patient stand up. Now remember, the patient is doing standing balance, so she's able to do a sit to stand, no problem. But we're working on standing balance. Now keep your hands down here, both hands, and go ahead and push up and stand up for me. Put your hands up here now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the seat all the way up to 70 degrees on the digital, because that's going to be the support for the back of the patient. We have support in front here, and we do have side-to-side support. What you can do also is raise the table, as you can see right here, when it's raising up, so that I can get above her waistline to prevent her from going forward. So now I have support on the back with the seat, the knee board in the front. Patient is standing by herself without standby. So now we can do different exercises. We can either throw the balloon, we can also do different exercises. Go ahead and hold on to the balloon and put your hands out straight. I want you to raise your arms all the way up, maintaining balance. So you can watch the patient. If she's touching the front or the back, go ahead and put your arms down. If I see that she's doing quite well, what I can do is move the knee board away from the patient a little bit by unlocking the mechanism. I'll pull it out a few inches to match the other side. You can look at the numbers on the transfer bars. So now I've given her a little bit more room here, so I can actually have her take a little step forward, a little step backward. Put your arms on your side for me, please. Take a step forward. Take a step backwards. Now I can take the back seat away, and that'll take some of the back support so that I can make the patient work a little harder. Go ahead and take a step forward for me. Okay. Now, can you sway side to side? So this is all done in a much safer manner, and I don't need any standby. To sit the patient back down, you can go ahead and just reverse what we just did. You can also remove the knee board when the patient is standing and put a walker in front of them or the wheelchair. Welcome to our core strengthening segment. In this segment, what we're going to do, we're going to show you how you can get their arms, the core, stronger for sit to stand, which is the muscles that they need. Once you've transferred the patient over to the table, you'll need both transfer bars out and locked in place. As the patient is sitting there, we're going to have the patient cross her arms, and I'm going to lower the back. And the degrees on the back are telling me exactly what degrees we're going to be working with. Okay. Right now we're at 55 degrees. And I'm going to have the patient just sit up for me. Go ahead, sit up for me. And go ahead and go back nice and slow. If I see that the patient is doing them a little too easy, I will lower the back maybe another 2 or 3 degrees and make her do another sit-up from the lower degree. And go back. So I usually like to have the patient do 10 sit-ups at whatever degrees they can do 10. And then I can chart down that she can do 10 from 53 degrees. The next day, I'll go down to 52 and then 51 and on and on. So you can show an improvement. We can also do some pull-ups with the transfer bars. You can have the patient hold on to the handles there. And I will go ahead and lower the back at a lower degree. And I'm going to have the patient pull up with her arms all the way to a 90 degree and then back again. And what we're doing now is we're working on all of the bicep, shoulder muscles, and back muscles, which are the muscles you need to do sit to stand. Go ahead and come up for me again. So that's what you can do to strengthen the patient's core and the arms and shoulder muscles. Welcome to the scale segment. This segment, we're going to show you what the scale is used for in the Barihab. We have our patient sitting. We're going to take the other transfer out. Okay, so we're going to do a partial weight bearing patient. First thing you're going to do is lift the patient's feet off the floor. And in this case, this patient is weight bearing on the right leg, non-weight bearing on the left. I'm going to use the chest plate because whenever you're doing non-weight or partial non-weight patients, always use the chest plate. I'm going to touch the patient's knees with the pad. I'm going to remove the scale and I'm going to place it underneath the weight-bearing leg. I'm going to go ahead and lower the table to where she's flat foot and only toe touching on the non-weight bearing. Once the patient is set up, I'm going to go ahead and raise her with the seat. Making sure that she's always on the weight-bearing leg. Go ahead and put your hands up here. Once I have the seat all the way up to 70 degrees, there's no weight on this non-weight bearing leg. All of the weight, it's on the weight bearing leg. I can control the weight on her weight bearing leg. As you can see the scale moving. And I can actually lift the patient. And if the doctor's orders are to have maybe 20 pounds or 30 pounds on the partial weight bearing leg or non-weight bearing, I may also do that. And I can lower the patient onto the scale and control however much weight she'll have. Okay? So that's how you use the scale. Welcome to our leg plate segment. What we're going to be doing today here is we're going to show you how you can use the leg plate for contractures on the knee or knee surgeries, and you need to stretch the patient's knee. Using the leg plate with the digitals, you won't have to use a goniometer, and this will be quite precise. Once the patient is sitting here, what we're going to try and do is stretch her knee. By raising the leg plate, as you can see, okay, we're at 30 degrees there. So if the patient feels any kind of tightening or pulling at 30 degrees there, we'll let it sit there for a while, and then we'll go ahead and do a little bit more, and we'll see how far we can go with the patient in one session. Whatever you do, you want to chart it down. In this case, we're at 26 degrees. So tomorrow, when you bring the patient over, you'll try to get maybe down to 24, 23 degrees, see if you can improve 2 to 3 degrees on the session. So that's for knee surgeries or contractures. This works great. Other ways that you can use the leg plate with the table is you can raise the table up quite high so that you can work on massage if you need to, or we can work on plantar flexion contracture. So you can see the table can go up quite high. This makes it a lot easier for the therapist because now you've got access to their feet up here instead of you having to bend over or anything that you may have to massage or do with the legs. Okay, so now this is the low-level patient segment. Whether they're low-level, low trunk control, don't have a lot of strength, first time you're going to try to stand them up, all of those. Now, what we've got here are different pads. This here is called chest plate. This one's called the knee board. For low-level patients or low trunk control, we're going to use the chest plate, okay? Now, what you do is you just pick it up just like that, and you slide it in all the way over. It'll slide in the other transfer bar, and you go down with it. Pull the Velcros out of the way, and then just go ahead and tie them up. Now I'm going to bring the pad next to the patient. What you want to do is you want to touch the knee. You do one at a time. You don't try to do both of them. Okay. Now, this is really, really important. There's two ways to stand the patient up. A low level, when you're doing 100% assistant, and then there's also whenever they're doing a sit to stand. That'll be another segment. But there's a different way of setting the patient up for both of them. What we're going to do now with Corey is 100% assistant, low-level patient, okay? So I'm going to raise the table so that its heel is about 1.5 inches off the floor. Now this is really important. Also, we want to make sure that the patient is sitting all the way back on the table. So we want their knees to be touching, the back of the knee touching the table, okay? So that's what I'm making sure here that he is. So now I'm going to go ahead and touch his knee with the pad. I'm going to lock the transfer bars. And again, with the heel 1.5 inches off the floor, I'm going to stand in front of them. We're going to have the patient hold on to the bars. And what I'm doing right now is the seat is coming up. I've got control of the table right here on my thumb. I do everything right here. Now I'm standing in front of the patient so that I can hold him because he's a low-level patient, low trunk control. As you're standing the patient up, you do want to talk to them. Let them know what you're doing, what's going on, and if they feel any discomfort at all. Okay? Sometimes, as you're putting them up, if the patient is really sensitive to their knees or anything, you can actually stop. You can unlock the transfer bar. It's not going to fly out, and you can actually let it slide out a little bit and lock it in place again. This is if they're saying anything about too much pressure on their knees. Okay, that's one of the things you want to watch. The other one is if you have a gap in between the bottom of their leg here, their thigh, and the bed itself, or the seat, you want to raise the bed a little bit, like so, to take care of that so that they have full support under their leg. And then you may continue. You may have to do that once during the standing procedure. Now as the seat comes up, the seat will stop at 70 degrees. Okay, right there. Corey is standing. I didn't have to pull on him, pull on the gait belt, or really do any physical work. Just right here with my thumb. Once you have the patient up and standing, you can then do different activities with them. You can bring an eating tray over. We can do all kinds of different activities. Why don't you mark number 25 and 23 for me? So this allows you to do some OT work as well. You can have an E-stem at the same time they're standing. The hands-free environment that is created by the Barihab allows me to be able to do different activities with the patient without needing any standby by another physical therapist. So it's quite safe. Once you've stood him for a while, you want to sit them back down. You're just going to reverse the procedure. You want to hold on to them, tell them that you're lowering them, make sure they're not feeling any pressure. Now we've got 3-inch high density foam here. So there's a lot of foam here and it's pretty soft. So this is our parallel bar segment. As you you can see, the parallel bars comes with a cart and a safety seat, and they can be stored quite easily. They don't take up any room, any space at all. We have some warning stickers here that I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. Okay, these are really, really important. Now you can move them around quite easily. Whenever you're going to need the bars, one of the first things you need to do is remove the transfer bars from the table. And they come out quite easily, like so. On the outside of the table, we have receiver bars that we call them the stowaway receiver bars. We'll do the same thing with the other one. So now they're out of the way. So what that does, it exposes these two receivers that we have here and here. The reason why you've got two is the inside ones is for a narrower patient, the outside ones is for a wider patient. So you have options there. Those same receiver bars is where the parallel bars go into. Whenever you grab the bars, you just lift up like so and slide it into the receiver bar. Lock them in place, loosen up the leg here, leave it loose for now. We're going to get the other bar. Lock in place, release the leg. Okay. Now, when they are still loose, you can raise the table and you'll see how the bars will come up. And you can raise the table until you reach your desired height for that patient. Now you have a digital here that tells you the height of the table. Now this is the top of the mat. So you can refer to that as you get used to the table and working with the patient. So you'll kind of get to know where that height is for different heights. You can also lower it and you'll see the legs just follow the table, okay? Once you have the desired height on there, you'll pull up and lock the lever. Okay, you'll pull up on the bar slightly and lock. That gives you kind of a preload on the bars. Okay, and they're pretty secure. Now, we can go ahead and have Corey stand up here. Go ahead and take a couple of steps for me. Okay, stop right there. Now, I mentioned the safety seat on here. Safety seat kind of glides on the bars itself, and they can actually follow the patient so that you can just raise the seat, move it forward. Go ahead and take a step for me, and just move it wherever it's needed. Go ahead and have a seat for me. Now there is no backrest. That's why this is called a safety seat. You have to make sure that you're here. Don't let them just sit and lean back. Okay? It's an emergency seat or a safety seat. Go ahead and stand up for me again. Okay. Go ahead and take another step for me. Okay. Go ahead and have a seat. Okay. Now go ahead and stay there for me. Let's talk a little bit about the safety stickers that we have here on the side of the bars. It says, warning, do not lower platform with end knobs tightened. That means that if you have these levers tightened, you do not want to lower that table. It's gonna break the table, could break the bars. So you just wanna make sure that you don't do that. Also, as you can see, the levers are on the outside. It's really important. You don't want them on the inside. That'll be in the way of the patient. So you want them on the outside. So what we're going to do now, we're going to have Corey stand up again. Go ahead. I'm going to remove the safety seat. Now you notice real quick here on the safety seat that these arms come out, both of them. That's so that if you put the bars in different receiver bars for different width, they'll adapt to whatever width you need them to be, okay? Go ahead and turn around for me. Okay, one more time. Now, when you get to the end also, what you can do is you can do two things here. You can have a walker in place, and he can just grab the walker, keep walking, or you can have a wheelchair. And we'll go ahead and set the wheelchair up. Okay, so now that Corey's finished with his treatment, what we're gonna do is we have the wheelchair set up, and we're gonna have him just pivot and sit on the wheelchair. Okay. And now we're going to go into how to remove the parallel bars. Okay, now that we have Corey safely back in his wheelchair and back in his room, we're going to go ahead and remove the parallel bars, and you're just going to reverse the procedure. First thing you're going to do is unlock the leg, lift up all the way, lock it in place again, come back here, unlock the receiver. You'll go ahead and pull the bar out, stand it up on end, and just walk it over to the cart. Now, really important, this is the front of the cart. The stickers here is the front, the back of the seat is the front. You see the stickers, it's really important for them to be facing you. That is the proper way for them to be stowed away, okay? Stickers must be facing you. We'll go ahead and repeat the procedure with the other bar. Unlock the leg all the way up, lock it again, unlock the receiver bar, pull the bar out, stand it up on end, walk it over to the cart, and go ahead and slide it in the receiver. And they just drop in place. Okay, sticker is facing me. And that's it, you're done. It takes about 25 seconds.